Guys, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here to talk to you guys about something that you may have seen in the news. Let me know if you've heard about this. It has to do with a guy named Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaquille O'Neal apparently has a beef with a guy named RG3, a.k.a. Robert Griffin III, in which Shaq just promptly stated that if he sees RG3 in these streets, he's going to punch him in the face. He's going to punch him in the face, y'all. That's what he says he's going to do. Well, I'm going to talk to you about why that's just such a stupid statement and why I, as a Black man, feel the need to speak up when I hear this kind of immaturity. So get comfortable, buckle up the seatbelt. We're going to break down the financial reasons why this sort of culture is unhealthy for the Black community. So get comfortable, buckle up the seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say what's up to the B1 community, everybody who's Black first. If you are Black first, B1. If you believe in our community and you put your people first, put a B1 in the chat. B in the number 1. That means that we want to break generational curses. B1 means that we want our people to win. B1 means that we love the Black family. We love Black women. We love Black children. And we want our community to have wealth and success and prosperity. Put a B1 in the chat if that makes sense to you. Also, let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a quick yes to let me know my audio is coming through good. I am in Ghana right now. We are taking a B1 trip to Ghana, actually. We're all in Ghana together. Last year, we went to Egypt. Next year, we're going to go somewhere else. We're thinking about Ethiopia. So if you want to join us next year and get notified when we take another trip, just text the word travel to the number 87948. Text travel to 87948, and I'll send you an invitation. You can come and join us. All right, so anyway, how many of you, give me a yes if you've heard about what's going on with this interesting thing between Shaquille O'Neal, who was one of my favorite basketball players of all time, and another guy named Robert Griffin III, who was an extraordinarily good football player. He wasn't as good at football as Shaq was at basketball. His career lasted about 18 minutes and 45 seconds because he kept getting injured. But Shaq had a long career, won some championships, did some great things. But anyway, this is interesting because this reflects a conflict with Black men, and it involves protecting Black women. Now, here's the deal. Let me brief y'all on what went down and what's going on. So Angel Reese, as you may know, how many of y'all know about Angel Reese? Anybody knows about Angel Reese and the beef she has with Caitlin Clark, or the rivalry, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it. It's a back and forth. It's a competition. Healthy, I think. I think that they're kind of a notch below Bird and Magic back in the day. The only difference is that Bird and Magic, they were both winning championships, and I don't think Angel and Caitlin's teams are at the top of the league, but both of them are great players. Angel Reese just did some amazing things this season. She's getting big time endorsements, making all the money she deserves, and Caitlin Clark's doing her thing. White folks love her. She's playing in Indiana. They see her as the new Larry Bird. It's a great rivalry, actually. It's good for business, good for women's basketball. Nothing wrong with that. Well, unfortunately, the racial angle of this rivalry is causing a lot of people to get heated for good reason, right? So eventually, somebody's going to make money off that. They've always been making money off of racial rivalries because we don't deal with race very well in America. So here's what happened. So Robert Griffin III has been known to be kind of a nemesis to Angel Reese. Robert Griffin III, he's married to a white woman, and he also just seems to be a big Caitlin Clark fan. And for good reason, he kind of gets on my nerves too. So he made this statement that was really interesting. I'm going to read the statement, and then I'm going to tell you what happened and why I'm even talking about this topic. I'm not talking about it just because I want to gossip. I'm not talking about it just because I want to just talk about things that are happening. I want to talk about it because this is actually a deeply economic conversation. This is also deeply cultural. And if you know anything about this platform, you know that I'm very, very big on Black economic culture, particularly the culture of Black men that holds us back and causes us problems that we create for ourselves. So here's what Robert Griffin III said, and I'm going to read it, and then we're going to jump into this on a deeper level. So follow me if you can stay with me on the economic lesson. So here's what it says here. I got to take my glasses off to read this because these are not these ain't my prescription, y'all. I'm 54, so I got to squint. All right, anyway, let's read it here. He says, all right, this has got to stop. Now, what he's talking about is apparently there are racist people who made an image of Angel Reese dressed as a monkey, basically, right? Which we know racism's real in America. That's going to happen. And he says, all right, this has got to stop. I got to do my Tom voice. All right, buddy, this has got to stop. There's no place for racism in this world. Whether you're a player or not, Angel Reese should never be called or depicted as a monkey. So he makes that statement basically defending Angel Reese right there. So good, good. I mean, it makes sense, right? Do you all agree with me that you shouldn't? That's not cool. Don't be making people into monkeys and stuff, right? This hurts people's feelings. It's not nice. All right. He says, I've been quiet on the Angel Reese front because she shared a video that aided in my wife, kids, family, and friends receiving death threats. Death threats. Oh. Okay. Threats of physical harm to my family and friends and threats of sexual violence to my children on social media and beyond. Okay. Now, from what I've gathered, somebody in the comments on my Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. Some of y'all are watching from Dr. Boyce Finance. Someone said that RG3 called Angel Reese a monkey. I did not see that here. Now, if there's another comment somewhere where he called her a monkey, let me know, because obviously that would be highly inappropriate. I did not see that. I want to make sure that I'm clear about this so that we can be fair and balanced so we can really get to the meat of the issue. But I got to brief you on what's going on so you'll understand the economic lesson here. I did not hear him call her a monkey. It sounds to me like he's saying it's not appropriate to call her a monkey. Would you agree with that? Can we agree that at least based on this tweet, which seems to be the one that's pissed people off the most, he didn't call her a monkey? But here's what he said. Okay, so then what's odd about the message, though, is he says, it's not cool to be racist. However, let me tell you about the bad thing she did to me, right? That's what it sounds like he's doing. So he says, I've been quiet because she shared a video that aided in his family being threatened. People threatened sexual violence against his children on social media. I hope we can agree that that's not cool. Can we at least agree that it's not cool to threaten anybody's family or any of that, right? But Angel Reese didn't do it. Shaq didn't do it, but that's not cool, right? So here we go. So let's keep going. That will never be okay with me. I never attacked her or her family when I stated and backed up with clear basketball evidence that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. It's sports. Everybody won't like each other. So it sounds like what he's saying is that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have some animosity. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Is anybody who's familiar with this rivalry, would you say that there could be some accuracy to that statement? What would you say? Would you say that Angel Reese has an issue with Caitlin Clark? How many of you would say that they're probably not cool, that Angel Reese... Now, again, it seems like they're debating over whether or not Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. I'm going to say that that's not a healthy debate at all. And first of all, it doesn't really matter. It's competition. It's sports, right? I'm sure Magic and Bird didn't like each other because they both wanted to win titles. I'm sure Michael Jordan wasn't too cool with Patrick Ewing when he was dunking over the Knicks and taking their championships away from them, right? So this is sports, right? This is sports. That's what I'm seeing, Red. So let me keep reading here because I saw another tweet where he said that she hates it. She hates her. And I'm like, yeah, I'd hate her too. You taking my championship, you taking my shine shoe. We in sports, we're competing. I'm not going to be your friend. So let's keep reading here. So he says, what else? He says, people in Angel's corner, in Angel's inner circle, called me and told me I was right. And Angel Reese has grown to hate Caitlin Clark because of the media always asking her about Caitlin and being constantly compared to her. So I think that's another issue too, where it sounds like he's citing as a journalist that inner circle people from Angel Reese's camp called him and told him that Angel really can't stand Caitlin. But then again, I don't think you need to be in the inner circle to know that she probably doesn't think all that highly of her. I've just seen the way they play. I'm just going to go off, but that's instinct. Nobody knows for sure. So let's keep reading here. He says, some people made it about race, but I never did and never will. Instead of becoming the villain in anyone's story, I decided to just not. Well, I think that one of the things that RG3 doesn't understand is that, and he married a white lady and that's his life. That's his right. But I wonder if he's like the type of brother that really wants to tell you that racism doesn't exist, that race is, colors, that the color of skin doesn't matter. And it's just, whatever. It's just some stat that has no relevance. And I think that is kind of strange, when you get into this sort of false world of being racially blind. Color blindness doesn't exist, Robert, and I hate to tell you that, but race does matter. And although at the same time, though, I think you got to be really careful about pointing out somebody's white spouse or whatever as evidence. I think that it does speak to something in his background, in the sense that if he's had a trail of white women that he's chosen to marry, that says something. Who you marry says something. Barack marrying Michelle made a difference from if Barack had married Becky. If Barack had married Becky, a lot of y'all wouldn't have voted for Barack. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if you agree with this. Also, though, you got to remember, Kamala didn't marry Tyrone. Kamala married Dougie the Jewish guy, right? So that says something about Kamala. So if you're going to say it says something about Barack, you'd have to say it says something about Kamala. If you say it says something about RG3, then you have to say that it says something about anybody who makes that decision, right? So here's the point. So as people talk about whether or not he married a white woman, I think you have to be really careful about those conversations. At the same time, there are some truisms you can throw out there. Like I mentioned to you all that the greatest investment I'll ever make in my life is who I choose to marry. There's no stock I've ever bought that's more valuable. There's no real estate I've ever purchased that mattered more. There's no business deal I've ever done that's more important than the ultimate business deal, which is a marital contract. And I told you all years before I married my wife, I said, when I make that contract, it will be with a black woman, because I could not sit here and say I am B1 pro-black and all these other things, but then say when it came time for me to make the greatest investment of my life, I married a white woman. It doesn't mean I have the right to look down on other people for their choice, but it does say something about you. But I still think it's a subtle point, and you have to be really careful with that. With that said, let me finish up this comment so we can jump deeper into what's really going on here and the cultural / economic side of this, so it doesn't sound like it's just a gossip fest. I don't want it to be like that. Okay, but I got to give you the backstory. So it says here, all that being said, Angel Reese or any black man or woman should never be called or depicted as a monkey ever. Stop it. If you hate Angel Reese because she's black, you are the problem. If you hate Angel Reese because you are a Caitlin Clark fan, don't turn it racial. There should be no space for racism in this world. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, honestly. I don't see what the big issue was with that particular tweet. I'm going to just tell you the truth. I'm looking for the smoking gun. If there was a smoking gun, it must have been smoking in another tweet, because what then happened was really puzzling to me. So Shaquille O'Neal steps in. And Shaquille O'Neal has a close relationship with Angel Reese, apparently. I think it comes from the fact that they both are LSU alumni. There was a time where he made a joke about how good she looked in booty shorts, which I thought was kind of a weird thing for a 50-some-year-old man to say about a 23-year-old. I know that I'm a college professor, and even when I was in my 30s, the 23-year-olds, to me, they were like children. They were college students. I would never make a comment about college students in booty shorts. I think that's an issue, right? That's not something that you say to somebody who looks at you as an uncle type figure. But anyway, but they do have this relationship, and I guess out of his protection for Angel Reese, he comes back and says something like about Robert Griffin. He says, "When I see you, I'm going to punch you in your fucking face." That's what he says. I'm going to punch you in her face. Now, again, D. Rel says he called her a monkey. Show me where he called her a monkey. Just show me the tweet. Show me that, because I have not seen anything. I researched it. I looked it up. You can go. You can go into X.ai or X.com and ask Grok, did Robert Griffin III call Angel Reese a monkey? And let's see what Grok says. I'm literally going to type this in now, just so we can make this clear, because if he called her a monkey, then that's not cool. So let me see here. Did RG3 call Angel Reese a monkey? Okay, so I'm going to put this in here, and then I'll let you know the results in a second. But but one thing we do know is that Shaq came in and basically said, I'm going to punch you in your face. I'm going to punch you in your effing face. Now, a lot of people cheered that on. They said, now here you go. Just so you know, Grok says, no, Robert Griffin III did not call Angel Reese a monkey. He posted on X on July 10th, condemning a racist image that depicted Reese as a monkey on a fake NBA 2K26 cover, stating, quote, "There is no place for racism in this world, whether you like a player or not. Angel Reese should never be called or depicted as a monkey." So that right there says, if you think that he called her a monkey, that you're wrong about that. And so I think we have to have facts here when we talk about this kind of thing. Here's where I have an issue with what Shaq said, okay? Shaq sort of, I know people want to cheer it on. I know there are a lot of people like, yeah, that's right, protect black women and all that stuff, and I get it. I understand it. But one of the things that I think you have to be careful about is this. The black man is seen by the rest of the world as violent, ignorant, and emotionally immature. The black man is seen around the world as undisciplined. Black men have lost millions of dollars due to a lack of ability to have discipline, particularly when it comes to violence or sex. A lack of sexual discipline, a lack of physical violent discipline has cost black men millions of dollars. Let me give you some examples. Anybody know who that guy is? Anybody know who those two brothers are in this picture? In case you don't know who they are, these are two men, Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur, who right now should be alive, healthy, and living in $100 million houses with their grandchildren. They should be sitting on fortunes of no less than $5 to $10 billion apiece. They should be sitting with their lawyers and estate planners, planning on how they're going to make sure that the next 10 generations get to eat good. They should be planning on how they're going to have as much money as Elon Musk or the Rockefellers by the time they die. They should be sitting at the top of the mountain of the music industry. Instead, one of them is in prison and the other one is in a grave. So what you're looking at right here, you see, y'all talk about black wealth like you care about it. You talk about, you almost fool me into thinking that you actually care about black wealth. But then you cheer on behavior that is a destructor of black wealth. Do you understand? You cannot say, I care about black wealth, but I also support black violence. Violence does not lead to wealth. Can we at least agree on that? Can we at least agree that we've got enough activity with grown-ass men, 40, 50 years old, punching each other out, shooting each other up, slapping each other around, and that is economically costly? Can we at least agree on that? Because Tupac and Suge Knight should be billionaires. They should be billionaires, but instead of being billionaires, one of them's dead, one of them's in prison, and that's exactly what a white man wants you to be. He don't want you living good. He don't want you living safe. He don't want your children to be well off. He wants you and your children dead, or he wants y'all black asses in prison, having somebody taking your booty hole in the middle of the night because you couldn't handle somebody saying something that you didn't like. See, I understand if you fight somebody because they're physically violent toward you. I understand if somebody is beating your woman up in the street and you got to take him out. I understand if somebody breaks in your home and you pull out the strap and you got to handle that. What I do not understand is a man willing to be sued for $20 million and sent to jail over a fucking tweet. Excuse my French. Oh, are you serious right now? Over a damn tweet. Somebody tweeting at you. I don't like you. I think you ugly. You ugly. And then I'm going to punch you in the face. This is not how mature men behave. And the reason I have to speak up on this is because we are the OGs. We are the unks. We are in our 50s. And you ain't setting a good example for young guys. Young guys are out here really fighting each other, really shooting each other up. And how in the hell are they going to know how to resolve conflict in a decent way if they got 50-something-year-old men wanting to punch each other out in the street? In fact, I dare say this. Look, if Shaquille O'Neal, I don't know who knows who I am. I know that there are a few famous people who know me, and most of them don't. They don't care who I am. But if Shaquille O'Neal knows me, I'm going to issue you a challenge, Shaq. You are 7'1", probably 300 pounds. I'm getting to 300 pounds, but I'm only 5'8". And I would like for you, next time you see me, I need you to come up to me. I need you to cop back and punch me in the face real hard. And I really want you to do that. You know why I want you to do that? Because then at that point, number one, I can send your ass to jail. Call the cops. Officer, I don't have my friends filming when it happens, because you get punched by Shaq. That's an honor. And then I'm going to sue you for about $30 million. I'm going to sue you like a white woman. I'm going to sue you for pain and suffering, for emotional distress, for public humiliation. I'm going to talk about the how traumatic it was and how much time I'm going to do like the white women. And then he came up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a big chunk of your generational wealth, because nobody ever taught you that the protection of generational wealth often comes with a commitment to some degree of emotional discipline. Now, I'm just kidding. I don't really want Shaq to punch me in the face. I also don't want to take his money. I don't want you to go to jail. I'm kidding. I was a fan of Shaq for many years. I don't want none of that to happen. But what I do want you to understand is that as men, we got to realize that we have to set an example for younger guys. We have to set an example on how to appropriately resolve conflicts, because young black men, they're not dying mostly from police officers. They're dying from the inability to resolve conflicts with their ops who live down the block. That's what's killing these kids. So in my view, the idea that you want to punch somebody out, lose all your wealth, and go to jail in front of your kids over a tweet is pretty sad to me, because it shows a lack of emotional maturity. That's what it shows. In fact, let's look at Exhibit B. Let's look at here's a real life exhibit. Anybody know? Tell me. Let's do some Negro trivia right quick. I want you to tell me if you can guess who these black men are in this picture. Anybody know who these two men are? Write it in the chat if you sing it if you know it. Who are these two black men in this image right here? We're doing Negro trivia night. Can anybody tell me who these two brothers are in this image? And as you do that, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. Yep, that is the great Gilbert Arenas, they called him Agent Zero because he was such a badass as a basketball player. He wasn't a Michael Jordan type, but he was really good. He was really good. And then there's Javaris Crittenden, who was a first-round draft pick and signed a multi-million-dollar contract. Now, these two guys played for the Washington Wizards, got into a situationship over some gambling or something. And then next thing you know, somebody pulls out a gun, and then somebody else pulls out a bigger gun. And as a result, Gilbert Arenas, if I'm not mistaken, his career ended almost immediately, because, the white man going to crack the whip on your ass when you out here acting like that. And then so he lost his career. And then Javaris Crittenden got 23 years in prison. He just got out of prison. He just finished 10 years of a 23-year sentence that was completely unnecessary. If you watch the documentary about these two guys, one thing you'll walk away with in terms of your conclusion is that neither one of these guys were bad people. Both of these guys are good people. Both of these men are hardworking men. Both of these men had a tremendous amount of talent. So it's a tragedy that I bet $100 million or more in black wealth, black generational wealth, was lost because hip hop culture, the violent side of it, encourages them. Instead of settling it like gentlemen, we got to get into some old gangster shit. Instead of us sitting here talking it out and saying, hey man, look, I got $100 million on the line. You about to sign for $80 million. Let's resolve this so that we can keep making money and being successful, win some championships, and take care of our grandkids. Instead, it's like, nah, man, I got to show you, man. I got to show you, trying to one-up each other. And this is culture. This is culture. There are cultures where people know how to sit down and resolve their differences like men, but they didn't have any real men around them that were mentoring them, because I'm sure all the 50-year-olds were like, yeah, man, you talk shit to me, I'm gonna pull out my gun on your ass. You a punk. You a punk ass. No, you're a punk if you go to jail and somebody's taking your booty hole every night. That sir would make you a punk. You a punk if you go get sued and you lose 20 million of your hard-earned money because you couldn't maintain emotional discipline. And then now you're getting laughed at by women because women don't like broke men. So now you, sir, you might officially be a punk now because you're broke and you're locked up. Right. So in my view, again, not that either one of these guys are punks. I'm not making fun of them. What I'm saying is that I'm trying to figure out who created, and I know who created it. It was those people that own those record labels. You know who they are. Who created a culture that says that when black men have a conflict, it's got to be resolved with somebody getting their ass kicked, getting shot, getting beat up or whatever, right? Or somebody pulling out a gun. That is a culture that's not who we are. That's not a culture of intelligent men. Intelligent men say, look, I'm willing to go to war if I have to, but if I can avoid it, I will. I'm going to use diplomacy before I resort to violence, because if we go to war, we both lose. Does anybody get what I'm saying? Or am I such a lame right now that ain't nobody hearing what I got to say? Do I got to go to Exhibit 3. Let's just do some more, because maybe we're gonna do some education here, because like I said, I'm 54 now. I'm not no kid, so I'm gonna educate the young guys. Let them know they have a choice. Anybody that's listening, anybody who thinks I'm just being a punk, whatever, go out here, get mad at somebody, punch them in the face, lose all your money, go to jail, get your booty hole took. Good luck to you, buddy. You'll figure it out by the time you're 50. I want to talk to the people that understand, or at least are willing to hear this perspective, to understand how much Black wealth gets lost when we are choosing violence, when violence did not have to be the first resort. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's lay out another one. Let's go to another. Anybody know who this guy is? I'm putting him on the screen now. Who is that person in this picture? Anybody know who this guy is? Anybody know? He's real talented. He sings real well, and his name is Chris Brown. Chris Brown got into a situation with his girlfriend in 2009. Her name was Rihanna. And apparently, I don't know who started what, who did what. Maybe she hit him first. For all I know, Rihanna ain't no punk. So I know there are many domestic situations where women will hit men first. So let's stop acting like men are always the aggressor, because some of y'all women are crazy. We know, we all seen a crazy woman out here, right? But either way, he ends up in a situation because men are stronger. We're bigger and stronger than women. So she might start the fight, but we have the best ability to finish the fight. And we're also the first ones that the police want to take to jail. So as a result of Chris getting into his situation with Rihanna, he probably gave up about $50 to $100 million in generational wealth, because he lost a lot of endorsements. He had endorsements with companies like Wrigley. He was doing those Got Milk commercials. You got to be real pure and clean to do those Got Milk commercials. His brand never really recovered. I mean, Chris still makes money for sure. He's doing quite well, but Chris lost quite a lot that could have been saved if he maybe, I don't know if he was drunk or high that night. I don't know if he just was immature or whatever. But if he'd had a mentor to say, hey man, look, this is what you're going to lose. And I'm not saying that she didn't do anything to him. She could have done. See, the rule is, and this is something I just want to give advice to young guys that are listening. If a woman starts acting out on you, do not become violent. Walk away. You need to walk away, because when the police arrive at that house and they got a choice between arresting you and arresting her, and she sheds tears and shows a couple scars, you're going to get arrested. And once you're in the system, it is very difficult to get out of the system, even if you're innocent. So rather than talking about right or wrong, let's talk about how the world works. Instead of talking about how the world should work, you need to learn how the world actually works. And so the way the world should work is, well, somebody does you dirty, you should be able to pop them in the face or whatever and move on. Yeah, that's the way the world should work, maybe. But that's not how the world does work. And the reality is that this culture, this violent culture, is very costly to Black men. Let me give you another exhibit. Let's go to exhibit 3. Tell me if you know who this guy is. This is a little bit tougher we're doing Negro Trivia Night. Can anybody tell me who that person is? Who is that guy right there? Anybody know who that guy is? Put his name in the chat. Sing it if you know it. Who's that guy right there? This guy is a wide receiver that played for the New York Giants. His name was Plaxico Burress. Plaxico Burress was an extraordinary athlete. He caught arguably one of the greatest catches in NFL history when he caught a one-handed catch against his helmet to help the Giants win the Super Bowl. It was like 4th and 20 or something, and he caught that. It was amazing. It was absolutely extraordinary. Well, Plaxico Burress goes to the club, and for whatever reason, he just thinks he needs to have a gun. He just signed a $35 million deal with the New York Giants, and while he was at the club with his gun, he shot himself in the leg with an unlicensed gun and got 2 years in prison. And after that, his career was never the same. So he lost a lot of contracts, lost a lot of endorsements right during his peak earning years, which means that he lost tens of millions of dollars in income, which would have translated into hundreds of millions of dollars in generational wealth. See, what you got to understand is that when somebody loses $20 million, they're not losing $20 million. $20 million is a seed. That's like saying if you lose a seed, you're only losing a seed. No, if you lose a seed, you're losing a whole crop. Right? Because a seed can grow an entire sycamore tree. So when you lose the seed, you're not losing the seed, you're losing the tree. Do you understand the difference? So when you lose 20 million, you're not losing 20 million. What you want to do is figure out how to turn that seed into something bigger. You need to think about what that money is going to grow into over the next 20, 30, or 40 years. Now, Did David Tyree make that catch? I got it wrong. See, look at me. I'm up here messing up. That's David Tyree. Thank you for correcting me. I need to be corrected. I was wrong about that. My apologies. It was Tyree. Thank you. All of y'all correcting me. So that tells me that I'm not on top of my game like I need to be. But you can't tell me Plaxico Burress wasn't a bad boy. That I know. That I know. I do remember his name, but I got it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not a Giants fan. I've been a Cowboys. I got a confession. I've been a Cowboys fan for a long time. And y'all got to pray for me because the Cowboys have sucked since the 1990s. Actually, the Cowboys are another example of how egos can cause you to lose wealth and lose opportunities. So with the Cowboys in the 1990s, they had a team that was so good that it was right up there with the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls and Dallas Cowboys were two of the most dominant teams of the 1990s, but because of egos between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, they couldn't keep the team together. And so because no one could submit to the relationship, because everybody wanted to be the alpha and nobody wanted to be cooperative instead of being competitive, the Cowboys haven't been the same for 30 years. So Jerry Jones is going to die waiting for another championship when he could have had 4 or 5 more if he put his ego to the side. So do you understand what I'm saying here? Now, Jerry Jones is rich for sure, but he wants something that money can't buy. So he's lost that type of wealth, the wealth that comes with winning championships, the wealth of just the experience of watching his team become the dynasty that it was supposed to be. He lost that. So he didn't lose money. He lost something more valuable than money. So what I'm saying to you is that if you are a wealth builder, how many of you want to build wealth? How many of you want to build businesses and empires and establish success in your family? Give me a yes in the chat if that's who you want to claim it. Claim it in the chat because that's what I want you to want for yourself. What I need you to understand is that wealth and empire building requires emotional discipline. It requires you to know when to say, yeah, I want to punch this guy in the face, but I'm not going to do it because that's going to distract me from the bigger goal. Yeah, I'm feeling disrespected in this partnership right now, but rather than punching it out or ending the relationship, I'm going to talk it out. We're going to get on the phone and we're going to figure out what's going on. I'm going to tell you how I feel. You tell me how you feel. This is why I'm telling you, if you ever get in a situation, this is a little business tip. If you ever get in a situation where you have a partnership with somebody and that partnership is working, I would encourage you to get some counseling. Get a counselor, a therapist, or somebody that could be an intermediary to make sure you maintain that relationship. I just gave that advice to a friend of mine who went to Harvard, who's working on some stuff with his marriage. And I said, look, you and your wife are winning. You and your wife are making money. I said, if you're having these issues, I encourage you before you act, before you go divorce each other or say something you can't take back, get you a counselor in the middle to be an intermediary so you can learn how to optimize the situation by using every emotional tool that you have at your disposal to minimize the damage that can come from you simply acting out and being emotionally immature. I said, you can't be immature right now. You're going to have to really focus and decide, do you want the partnership to continue? And if the answer is yes, then you should invest in all the different ways to resolve the conflict, other than just yelling at your wife, cheating on your wife, beating up your wife, divorcing your wife. That's the issue. The trauma. Do you understand? See, we have a culture, and a lot of it's that hip hop culture that they fed on us. We didn't create all that gangster rap and all that. That's what white people created that. Because they wanted black men to go to prison. They wanted black men murdering each other. They wanted black men to be seen as the clowns and the loud mouths and the chaotic creatures of our society. And so they succeeded. They filled up the prisons with black men in the 1990s because nobody was talking about having the toolkit necessary to manage relationships that will stay stable long enough for you to go out here and get this damn money. Tupac and Suge should have been spending 30 years getting that damn money. They should be on their third generation of artists that they're mentoring. Third generation, not even the second generation. Second generation would have been 50 Cent or something like that, and Lil Wayne. The third generation, whatever the artists are now, mumble rappers, I don't care. Right? They should be on their third generation of getting money and have a multi-billion-dollar empire that's employing 100,000 black people. That's what they should have. Instead, one is in prison and one is in jail because violence became the first solution to every damn problem. This is the reason that I have a bone to pick with Shaquille O'Neal. This is why I'm disappointed. I think Shaq is smart. I know he had a great mother and he had a strong father, a military dad, just like I did. I respect that. He had a great mother, just like I did. He loved his mother, respects his mother. So you know better. You know as well as I do that this is some bullshit. You shouldn't be out here 50-something years old talking about I'm going to punch you in the face. Stop trying to be a teenager and start being a grown man. You are the OG. They're looking up to you. And so what you're doing by setting this example of I'm going to resolve, because I'm mad at what you tweeted, because I'm mad at your tweet now, mind you, it's not like RG3 showed up and hit somebody. It's not like he ran up on somebody with a gun. No, he made a tweet. He used words, and because we are not trained to reach for all of our toolkits to deal with how we feel, first thing is, well, I'm gonna punch you in the face because I'm big and I'm 54 and I want to prove that I'm still young, and so I'm gonna wear my hat backward to show you that I'm still a gangster and I ain't scared of nobody. That's not gangster when you're 54, man. When you're 24, maybe it is, because maybe when you're 24, you're crazy and dumb enough to want to go to prison because somebody stepped on your foot at the club. But when you're 54, that's not how you resolve things. You set an example. You say, hey, look, we need to talk this out because what you're saying is not appropriate. And we're going to handle this. But people that are cheering this nonsense on, I feel bad for you, because why would you want black men going to prison? Why would you want your men going broke after somebody rolls up? I'm telling you, I had this happen to me. I had a famous, so I'm gonna say his name. I said his name before. D.L. Hughley called me up one time and was so mad at me, and he was cussing and saying, if I see you, I'm gonna fuck you up and blah, 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 blah. I didn't say a word. And I sat there and I was like, well, you can try it if you want to, but you do know I know karate. And so I can't, and I go to the gym, so I could probably fight you, but I probably wouldn't want to fight you. I'd probably sue you. Like, so if you want to do that, you can, but you're old, man. Like, you don't have other ways to handle this. Like, did somebody pump me? Is it really 1992? And I thought it was 2025. Have I been in a coma for 25, 30 years? Because this don't make no damn sense. This is not logical. That's what I'm saying. It's not logical. It's not strategic. It's not intelligent. And again, I'm not saying that Robert Griffin III is a great guy. I don't know how he feels about Angel Reese, but I think that it's not, what disturbed me was not just what Shaq said, because I think that's beneath him. What disturbed me was people cheering it on. Like, yeah, protect black women. So you want to protect black women by sending black men to jail? You want to protect black women by causing millionaires to lose all their wealth and embarrass themselves in front of their children? You want to protect black women by having brothers that should be working and building together, having them out here fighting in the street? So women, you have to take responsibility for the role you play in this. If you're like, because I'll see this all the time where women will date a man and they'll say, well, I like my man to be a little bit street and a little bit thug and a little bit da. Well, I mean, I think it's okay, but you got to remember, thugs get shot and thugs go to prison. And thugs don't build wealth, because thugs lose all their wealth because they get into fights. And then once they get into fights, they get sued. And so if he's a rich thug, he won't be a rich thug for long, because eventually he'll end up looking like, I don't know. Let's look. Anybody know who this guy is? Here's another. Let's do some more Negro trivia. Who knows who this guy is? Anybody know this rapper? He's a very charismatic, very talented rapper. His name is DaBaby. And I don't know why grown men would call themselves babies. I don't. That doesn't make sense where I come from, but still, he's called DaBaby. And one of the things I have to give DaBaby credit for was he went onto the Breakfast Club, and I was on the Breakfast Club a few times before Angela Rye. It was Angela Rye. Is that her name? Angela Rye. Yeah, Angela Rye got mad at me, and I think she's pretty close to Charlemagne. So I think that's when they stopped inviting me, because I guess my truth is a little bit harsh for people. But anyway, he was on the Breakfast Club, and he said, you know what? He said, I'm learning that, basically he said in so many words, he's learning that this gangster culture is very expensive. He's learning that keeping it real often goes wrong. He's learning that if he gets mad at somebody and decides he wants to punch somebody out because he wants to prove that he's a thug, that it ends up costing him millions of dollars. He's been sued for millions of dollars because he goes into spaces where people will try to bait you. If you are emotionally immature, what will happen is somebody will bait you. Somebody's going to come in and talk crazy to you. And if you are the kind of man that can be prompted to action because of what somebody said, then guess what? Somebody who wants your money, all they got to do is get under your skin, punk you a little bit, convince you to go up and punch them in the face or whatever, and then they get to sue you for $10-20 million. Now, broke people don't understand this. Broke people will say, yeah, keep it real. Man, you a punk. You should be there. Okay, broke people talk like that, but when you really get some money and you got a family and you got children at home that are not going to see their daddy because you are in jail, or your children won't get to eat because you are in lawsuits and losing all your wealth, then you'll understand it. So people who don't understand it, it's real. I get it. I respect anybody who disagrees with me, but I'm going to say that unfortunately, you could be part of the problem. If you are promoting a culture that is encouraging Black men to be emotionally immature, then you are part of the issue. If you are in a culture that is encouraging Black men to be violent with each other, then you're just as bad as a racist white man. If you are encouraging a culture that's telling Black men to go out here and settle all their differences with violence, then you are the enemy too, sir. That's what you are, because you want these men in prison. You want them dead. You want them broke. Because lawsuits happen when you settle things with violence. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth about Shaq. Let's go back to that for a minute. I don't think Shaq is really ever going to punch anybody in the face. I really don't. I think that Shaq is probably just talking. And that's true. We have a lot of people in the community that just talk. People don't really do stuff. And so I personally believe that because he's so intelligent, and again, I believe he's intelligent, I believe that he's just talking and trying to sound tough. That's what I think is happening. I would be stunned if he ever goes somewhere and really punches somebody in the face, because he knows as well as I do, as well as anybody does, that this sort of activity draws massive lawsuits. And also just in terms of other exhibits of times where violence was very costly. Anybody know who that guy is? Anybody remember this guy right here? Who is this guy? Put his name in the chat. It's a very sad story. I'm going to be really sensitive because I know people that know him. His name's Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was a guy who won a Super Bowl and a couple Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. He was a tip-top. He was a top-notch tight end, and he would go to the club and people would talk crazy to him. And then he ended up killing the guy. I think he killed one or two people or something. And so they didn't believe that he did it, because they said, why would a guy that just won a Super Bowl decide he wants to kill somebody? Well, I personally believe Aaron actually has that CTE. I believe that's what's going on. I believe a lot of NFL athletes, they have brain damage. The vast majority of them have CTE. It's not like it's a rare condition. It's very popular and common. And so anyway, long story short, he ends up going to prison, and he ends up killing himself in prison. So here you had a guy that signed a $20-30 million contract, at least, had millions of dollars in his future that he was going to earn, and now his daughter is left with nothing. His family is left with sadness, all because whatever was required for him to show discipline, emotional discipline, was not there. Again, with him, I make a slight exception just because I wonder if he has CTE. I think the same thing about the other guy, and not Antonio. What I'm talking about? He runs Antonio. Is it Brown? And Antonio Brown, is that his name? He acts kind of weird too, and I think it's a CTE, honestly. And another person that I think about who lost probably $1 billion or more because of a lack of emotional discipline would be this guy right here, Mike Tyson. I love the way Mike Tyson has repaired himself over the years. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the fact that he has done a great job of rebranding himself. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like somebody worth talking to. He's got a lot of wisdom. But I'd be willing to bet you that if Mike could go back and live his life again, go back to being Iron Mike Tyson, the 21-year-old who's knocking everybody out in 30 seconds, I bet you he would do that, largely because this is a guy who should be worth about $5 billion by now. If Mike Tyson had somebody, let's say somebody like me in their ear, giving him advice on both life and on wealth, Mike Tyson could have built an empire unlike any other. But instead, Mike Tyson is a guy who's probably doing okay, but I would argue that Mike is a shadow of the man that he would have been if somehow he'd been able to get the help that he needed, mainly the therapy and the guidance he needed to have the emotional discipline not to get involved in things that eventually ruined him. And again, this is a culture. This is not, it's not hard that I can point to many examples. I can point to DMX. DMX, who could have sold more albums than Tupac and Jay-Z combined if he was still alive. DMX, instead of being the billionaire he was supposed to be, he's dead. He died from a drug overdose. But I remember when DMX was 28 years old and they asked DMX, they said, what do you do while you're on tour all day? He said, fuck all day, drink all night. Or no, he said, drink. He said, smoke all day, fuck all night. That's what he said. And even at 29 years old, I said, is that all you do? Man, that's kind of wild. And literally years later, this man dies, a shadow of himself, dies from drugs, doesn't have any money to speak of in terms of wealth. He can leave his children. And it's sad because here's the thing. People who claim to care about Black wealth, if you're not talking about these stories, then you don't care about Black wealth. If you're not talking about all these missed opportunities, then you don't care about Black wealth. You pretend to. You say, oh, Black wealth matters and we need more wealth and we need reparations. Well, how the hell are you going to talk about reparations when you got when you're throwing away $1 billion opportunities in bad culture? You got all these situations where Black men are being encouraged to solve problems with violence as opposed to conflict resolution skill. And in many of these cases, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars is lost as a result of that. And then later on, when the children have nothing left, when nothing is being left to the kids, everybody gets all confused and say, well, it's because the white man did it. Well, he did do it, but the way he did it was not the way you think. The way he did it was he planted a culture in your community that makes you think that every situation should be resolved with something ignorant. Every situation should be resolved with some sort of conflict. Every situation should be resolved with us beating each other up, killing each other, hating each other, breaking up the group, everything else. And then also, if you throw in the way we were encouraged to embrace drugs and alcohol, and how many Negroes have been shot at the club, how many guys have gone to prison because they beat up or shot somebody at the club. That right there that's about $5 trillion in Black wealth that went out the window just from poor decision making. That's $5 trillion in Black wealth that went out the window because we're not teaching young boys emotional intelligence. Do you understand? That's $5 trillion in Black wealth that goes away because we're not embracing conflict resolution. We're instead encouraging people to kill people and kill each other, beat them up, punch them in the face, cheering on Will Smith. Yeah, protect Black women, punch Chris Rock in the face. Well, Chris Rock Chris Rock won from that. Chris Rock is probably in some lawsuit right now and is going to take $100 million from Will Smith's family from whatever lawsuit he has filed. So I'm not saying that there aren't situations that call for violence. I'm not saying that. I think violence is fine when violence is called for. Remember, I grew up with a man who's killed people. A lot of people can't say that. My father's actually killed people. But one thing that he taught me about violence is that you don't want to go there unless that is your only option. So violence is called for if somebody attacks you. Violence is called for if somebody's physically attacking your loved ones. Violence is called for if somebody runs up on you with a weapon. Violence is not called for over a damn tweet. Do you understand what I'm saying? And again, I don't think Shaq is going to punch anybody in the face, but remember, he's the OG. People look up to this. And I think that in general, part of the reason your community struggles is because you got a lot of bearded babies out here. You got a lot of men that look like grown men because they got beards, maybe even gray in their beard, but they're still acting like children. Why do they do that? Well, a lot of times they do that because they feel that they're losing their relevance. They feel that they live in a culture that only values people under the age of 30. They don't want to not be connected to the culture and what's cool and what's hip. And so what you'll see is you'll see some man who's 45 or 50 years old still saying things that he knows are emotionally immature statements, but he'll do that because he wants everybody to cheer him on. I think Shaq needs that. I think Shaq needs to have people cheering him on like they did when he was a basketball player. And I would just say, brother, come on, man. Like you're probably a grandfather or close to it. Why not embrace being a grandfather? Why not embrace being the OG? Why not embrace being the guy who says, look, when I was 22, I would have handled it this way. Now at 52, I handle it that way, right? That's how young people can learn. And a lot of the violence that happens with young guys happens because they don't have older men around that are going to give them options other than to kill each other and kill themselves. So you got a lot of 25, 30-year-old young people in prison right now doing 80-year sentences because nobody had this conversation with them about emotional intelligence. If you want to succeed, embrace emotional intelligence. If you want to be wealthy, embrace emotional intelligence. If you want to win in life, embrace emotional intelligence. If you want to defeat that white man in every trap he set for you, embrace emotional intelligence. You can get this from books. You can get this from therapists. You can get this from YouTube videos, all these things. And if you have that type of discipline, then you really can't be stopped, because they can easily stop a thug. All you do with a thug is you shoot him or you put him in prison. So that's all these black men getting shot and everybody's all sad about it. That's because that's because they know how to handle that. But what they can't handle is an intelligent black man who's also disciplined. That's the real threat in America. So that's my 2 cents. That's what I believe. And I don't mean to sound mean to anybody. I'm sure somebody's going to be offended by what I say, and I get it. It's different from what you might hear somewhere else. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm only asking you to hear me, to hear what I'm saying and consider what I'm saying, because I believe that the preservation of black life is primary and it's important. I want the preservation of black freedom. I want black prosperity. You cannot prosper if you beating each other up, shooting each other down, kicking each other in the face, going to jail, dealing with lawsuits and all this other stuff. That's not how you grow wealth. That's how you destroy it. So that's my 2 cents, guys. I'm done. Thank you for listening. I appreciate that. By the way, I do have a book. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If anybody wants to get a copy of my book, you can go to drboycebooks.com. Feel free to go grab a copy of that. And also, we are getting ready for the All Black National Convention. The All Black National Convention is the largest gathering on earth of intelligent black people who want to solve our problems. We got brothers coming out there who are making millions of dollars. We got sisters coming out there that are gorgeous and kicking butt, taking names, starting businesses. We have children that come to the convention. And this is going to be our biggest convention yet. So if you want to join us, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. So shout out to everybody. God bless you. And I'll keep checking in from Ghana. And by the way, those of you who join the morning class, just know I'm going to have to cancel a few because the Ghana time zone is absolutely positively just inconvenient for us to do money in the morning. So that time that we meet for class in the morning, by the way, it's free for everybody. And I'll give you a way you can join us for our financial class. We do this every morning. So text that word to that phone number, 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send you an invitation. But literally every day, just to show you I put my money where my mouth is. I'm not just out here talking. I want to support you, and I want you to succeed. I want you to have more money in your pocket. I want your family to be strong and stable. I want your mental health to be strong. I want your physical health to be strong. That's the goal. So if you want to join us, the class is free. And my background, I'm a finance professor. So you can text the word morning to the number 87948, and you can join us in class for free. But this week, I'm going to have to cancel a few classes because the Ghana time zone is 5 hours ahead. So at 10 a.m. Eastern, when we meet for class, it's literally actually 2 p.m. 2 p.m. here in Ghana. So that's like literally the middle of the day when we're doing stuff. And it's 9 a.m. in Chicago. So long story short, I'm going to have to probably miss a couple classes this week. So my apologies for that. But text the word morning to 87948, and I'll send you an invitation when we meet again. So have a good night, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And Shaq, again, man, I'm telling you, if you want to come punch me in the face, I would love that, because then I could sue you and stuff and get a lot of money for that. But because I could use that to build the Black Business School. But I'm kidding. I don't want you to do it. But if you got to punch somebody, don't punch him. Punch me so I can get the money. Don't punch him because Robert Griffin III, he's going to give the money to that white woman anyway. So you might as well punch me because I'm married to a black woman and my family, we could use an extra $20 million. So anyway, I'm being stupid. Let me just stop. All right, guys, have a good night. Talk to you later. Love you. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, 10, 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.